What if I told you that everything you know about time, how we measure it, how we celebrate it, how we live by it, might be wrong? Imagine a reality where the calendar, as we know it, is a carefully crafted illusion designed to disconnect us from our true spiritual nature and the natural rhythms of the universe. Imagine a time when our lives were in perfect harmony with the cosmos, where the cycles of the moon, the sun, and the stars guided our actions, our celebrations, and our very understanding of existence. Such a world once existed, but over the centuries, it has been obscured by layers of political and religious manipulation. Today, we're going to peel back those layers and rediscover a truth that has been hidden for far too long. This truth lies within an ancient manuscript, a Bible from 1775, that challenges everything we think we know about time, spirituality, and our place in the universe. But before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Together, we'll embark on a journey of discovery that could change the way you see the world forever. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Lucas, and I've always had a passion for unraveling the mysteries of the past. But unlike scholars who spend their lives buried in books and ancient manuscripts, my explorations happen right here in the modern world, often late at night, guided by the soft glow of my laptop screen. It was during one of these quiet evenings that I stumbled upon a video by a relatively unknown researcher named Aaron Wells. His channel, Timeless Truths, caught my eye because of a video titled, The 1775 Bible That Changes Everything. In this video, Aaron held up a Bible, old, weathered, and filled with the kind of wisdom that only time can bestow. But it wasn't the age of the Bible that intrigued me, it was what it revealed. According to this Bible, the first month of the year wasn't January, it was March. The week didn't begin on Monday but on Sunday, and most astonishingly, the year was composed of 13 months. As I watched, I felt a deep sense of curiosity mixed with disbelief. How could this be true? Everything I'd ever learned about time and calendars seemed to contradict this. Yet there it was, an ancient text challenging the very foundation of our modern understanding of time. The more I thought about it, the more questions arose. Why did everything change? Who decided to rewrite the calendar, and for what purpose? What did we lose when these changes were made? My curiosity quickly turned into a burning desire to uncover the truth. I knew that if I wanted answers, I would have to dig deeper, not just into history but into the very fabric of how we perceive time and spirituality. Let's start with one of the most compelling revelations, the 13-month year. In today's world, the idea of a calendar with 13 months seems almost absurd. But for many ancient civilizations, a 13-month calendar was not only natural but also deeply spiritual. The lunar calendar, used by cultures such as the Egyptians, Babylonians, and Hebrews, was based on the phases of the moon. Each month began with a new moon and lasted approximately 29.5 days, resulting in a lunar year of about 354 days. To reconcile the lunar year with the solar year, an extra month was added every few years, creating a 13-month calendar. This wasn't just a technical adjustment, it was a reflection of a profound connection with the natural world. The moon, with its cyclical phases, was seen as a symbol of life's eternal cycles: birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. Each lunar phase carried its own energy, influencing the natural world, human behavior, and spiritual practices. But something changed. With the rise of the Roman Empire and the spread of Christianity, the 13-month lunar calendar was gradually replaced by the 12-month solar calendar. This shift was more than just a practical adjustment. It represented a profound transformation in the way humanity understood time. The introduction of the Julian calendar by Julius Caesar in 45 BCE marked the beginning of this shift. The Julian calendar was a solar calendar, designed to bring order and predictability to the Roman Empire's expanding territories. It standardized the year into 12 months, with 365.25 days, aligning time with the solar cycle rather than the lunar cycle. This change was driven by more than just a need for accuracy. It reflected a shift in values, from a cyclical, nature-based understanding of time to a linear, structured one. The lunar calendar, with its 13 months, was seen as too fluid, too unpredictable for an empire that sought control and uniformity. By adopting a solar calendar, the Romans imposed a rigid structure on time, one that mirrored the political and social order they sought to maintain. But in doing so, They severed humanity's connection with the natural rhythms that had guided life for millennia. The 13th month, once a vital part of the calendar, was discarded, and with it, a deeper understanding of time and spirituality was lost. This shift had far-reaching consequences. The lunar calendar wasn't just about marking time. It was a reflection of a worldview that saw life as a continuous cycle. Birth, growth, death, and rebirth were not isolated events, but interconnected stages in a larger cosmic dance. The moon, with its waxing and waning phases, was a visible reminder of this cycle, a reminder that everything in life is connected, that endings are followed by new beginnings, and that time is not linear but circular. By abandoning the 13-month lunar calendar in favor of a 12-month solar calendar, humanity moved away from this cyclical understanding of time. We began to see time not as a series of interconnected cycles, but as a straight line, a progression from past to future, with little room for the fluidity and interconnectedness that characterized the lunar calendar. As I delved deeper into the history of calendars, I began to see a pattern, one where spiritual principles and natural rhythms were systematically replaced by rigid structures imposed by political and religious authorities. The more I learned, the more I realized that this wasn't just about dates on a calendar. It was about how we, as a society, have become disconnected from a universe itself. This realization led me to explore the implications of this disconnection. How has our shift from a cyclical to a linear understanding of time affected our lives, our spirituality, and our relationship with the world around us? The answers to these questions, I discovered, were both profound and unsettling. Let's consider the spiritual implications first. In many ancient cultures, time was not just a measure of days and months. It was a sacred concept, deeply intertwined with the cycles of nature and the cosmos. The lunar calendar, with its 13 months, reflected this sacred understanding of time. Each month was associated with a specific phase of the moon, which in turn was linked to particular spiritual qualities and energies. For example, the new moon was a time of new beginnings, a time to set intentions and plant seeds for the future. The full moon, with its bright, radiant light, was a time of culmination and celebration, a time to harvest the fruits of one's labor. The waning moon, as it gradually disappeared from the sky, was a time of reflection, release, and letting go, a time to prepare for the next cycle. These lunar phases were not just abstract concepts. They were integral to the spiritual practices of the time. Rituals, festivals, and ceremonies were often timed to coincide with specific phases of the moon, aligning human activities with the rhythms of the cosmos. This alignment was seen as essential for maintaining balance and harmony in both the individual and the community. But when the 13th month was removed from the calendar and the lunar cycle was replaced by the solar cycle, this sacred understanding of time was disrupted. The spiritual practices that had once been so intimately connected to the rhythms of the moon became disconnected from their natural context. Rituals that were once aligned with the cycles of the moon were now forced into a rigid, solar-based framework. The result was a gradual erosion of the spiritual wisdom that had guided humanity for centuries. This disconnection has had profound implications for our spiritual lives. Without the guidance of the lunar calendar, we have lost touch with the cyclical nature of existence. We have become disconnected from the natural rhythms that govern our lives, and in doing so, we have lost a vital source of spiritual nourishment and guidance. But the impact of this shift goes beyond spirituality. It extends to every aspect of our lives, from the way we celebrate holidays to how we structure our weeks. Take Christmas, for example. Traditionally celebrated on December 25th, Christmas is often said to be a Christianization of pagan winter solstice festivals. But what if Christmas, like many other holidays, was originally aligned with a different time of year, one that resonated more deeply with the natural cycles? If March were the first month of the year, December 25th would fall in the 10th month, not at the end of the year. This raises fascinating questions about the origins and timing of our most cherished traditions. Could it be that by shifting the calendar, we have also shifted the spiritual significance of these events? What if the true meaning of these holidays has been obscured by the changes imposed over the centuries? This leads us to another intriguing question. Why was the 13th month removed from our calendar? The number 13 has long been associated with superstition and fear, particularly in Western cultures. But in many ancient traditions, 13 was considered a sacred number, symbolizing transformation, rebirth, and the cycles of the moon. In numerology, the number 13 is associated with change and new beginnings, qualities that are deeply connected to the spiritual journey. The removal of the 13th month from the calendar could be seen as an attempt to distance society from these transformative energies, aligning time with a more rigid linear structure rather than the organic cyclical nature of the cosmos. The implications of this shift are far-reaching. By abandoning the 13-month calendar, we have not only lost touch with the natural cycles that once guided our lives, but we have also lost a vital connection to the spiritual wisdom that these cycles embodied. The 13th month, with its association with transformation and rebirth, was a reminder that life is a continuous process of growth, change, and renewal. Without it, our understanding of time has become static and fixed, devoid of the fluidity and dynamism that characterize the lunar calendar. But the consequences of this shift go beyond the spiritual realm. They extend to the way we organize our societies, structure our work weeks, and even perceive our place in the universe. One of the most significant changes brought about by the shift from a lunar to a solar calendar is the reordering of the days of the week. In the ancient world, Saturday, the Sabbath, was considered the seventh day, a day of rest and spiritual renewal. This tradition dates back to Judaism, where Saturday was observed as a sacred day, reflecting the biblical account of God resting on the seventh day after creation. However, with the rise of Christianity and the conversion of Emperor Constantine to the faith, Sunday began to gain prominence. Constantine, eager to unify his empire under a single religion, declared Sunday, the day of the sun, as the official day of rest and worship. This decision wasn't just a religious one, it was also a political move, designed to bring together the Christian and pagan populations of the empire. By aligning the day of worship with the sun, a symbol revered in many pagan traditions, Constantine effectively merged two worlds. But this change had profound spiritual implications. Sunday, originally associated with the sun and renewal, became the first day of the week, shifting the focus from rest and reflection to creation and new beginnings. The traditional order of the week, with its deep spiritual significance, was appended, and with it, the energetic flow of time. This reordering of the week had a profound impact on how time was perceived and experienced. The traditional 7-day week, with its emphasis on rest and renewal at the end of the cycle, was replaced by a system that placed the emphasis on work and productivity. Sunday, the first day of the week, became a day of creation and action, while Saturday, the day of rest, was pushed to the periphery, losing much of its spiritual significance. This shift reflects a broader cultural transformation, from a society that valued rest, reflection, and spiritual renewal to one that prioritized work, productivity, and material success. The consequences of this shift are still felt today. We live in a world where work dominates our lives, where rest is often seen as a luxury rather than a necessity, and where the spiritual aspects of life are often overshadowed by the demands of the material world. But what if we could reconnect with the ancient rhythms that once guided our lives? What if we could restore the balance between work and rest, between action and reflection, between the material and the spiritual? The 1775 Bible suggests that this is not only possible but essential for our well-being and spiritual growth. Imagine a world where the week begins with Sunday, a day of renewal and creation, and ends with Saturday, a day of rest and reflection. Picture a calendar that includes 13 months, each aligned with the phases of the moon, guiding us through the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Envision a year that begins in March, a time of awakening and renewal, when the earth comes to life after the long winter months. This is not just a dream, it is a vision of a world where time is more than just a tool for marking days. It is a sacred rhythm that connects us with the cosmos, the earth, and each other. But to realize this vision, we must first understand the forces that have shaped our current understanding of time. The shift from a lunar to a solar calendar was not just a practical adjustment. It was a deliberate move to impose order and control over a rapidly growing empire. By standardizing time, the Roman Empire was able to unify its diverse populations, synchronize religious observances, and impose a uniform system of governance. But this standardization came at a cost. In the process of aligning time with the solar cycle, the Roman Empire marginalized the lunar calendar and the spiritual wisdom it embodied. The cycles of the moon, which had once guided agricultural practices, religious rituals, and spiritual growth, were replaced by a rigid linear structure that prioritized control over connection. This disconnection from the natural rhythms of the cosmos has had far-reaching consequences. In the modern world, time is often experienced as a series of deadlines, schedules, and appointments, a relentless march forward that leaves little room for reflection, renewal, or spiritual growth. We have lost touch with the cyclical nature of existence, with the rhythms of life that once guided our ancestors. But it doesn't have to be this way. The 1775 Bible offers us a glimpse into a different way of understanding time, one that is more aligned with the cycles of nature, the movements of the celestial bodies, and the rhythms of the cosmos. By realigning ourselves with these ancient rhythms, we can restore a sense of balance and harmony in our lives, reconnecting with the spiritual wisdom that has been lost over the centuries. This journey has led me to a profound realization. The way we measure time is not just a matter of convenience. It reflects our relationship with the world around us. By reclaiming the wisdom of the past, we have the opportunity to reconnect with the cycles that govern our lives, to live in harmony with the natural world, and to rediscover the spiritual truths that have been obscured by the passage of time. But this journey is not just about looking back, it's also about looking forward. As we explore the implications of the 1775 Bible, we are invited to consider how we might reshape our future by reconnecting with the past. What would it mean to live in a world where time is experienced as a cycle, rather than a straight line? How might our lives change if we realigned our practices, our rituals, and our celebrations with the natural rhythms of the earth and the cosmos? These are not just theoretical questions. They have practical implications for how we live our lives. By embracing a more cyclical understanding of time, we can create a more balanced and harmonious way of life, one that honors the rhythms of nature, supports our spiritual growth, and fosters a deeper connection with the world around us. For example, consider the impact this shift could have on our work culture. In a society that prioritizes productivity and efficiency, rest is often undervalued. But if we realigned our lives with the ancient rhythms reflected in the 1775 Bible, we might begin to see rest not as a luxury, but as a vital part of the cycle of life. By restoring the importance of rest, reflection, and renewal, we can create a more sustainable and fulfilling way of life, one that honors both our need for work and our need for rest. The implications extend beyond the individual to the collective. Imagine how our communities might change if we celebrated holidays and rituals that were aligned with the cycles of the moon and the seasons of the year. By reconnecting with these natural rhythms, we can create a deeper sense of connection and belonging, both to each other and to the earth. This, in turn, could foster a more holistic and sustainable way of living, one that supports both our spiritual and material well-being. But the journey doesn't end here. As we continue to explore the implications of the 1775 Bible, we are invited to consider how we might apply this ancient wisdom in our own lives. How might we realign our daily practices, our rituals, and our celebrations with the natural rhythms of the cosmos? What steps can we take to restore balance and harmony in our lives, reconnecting with the cycles that govern our existence? The answers to these questions may not be easy to find, but they are worth seeking. By embracing the wisdom of the past, we can create a more balanced, harmonious, and fulfilling way of life, one that honors the rhythms of nature, supports our spiritual growth, and fosters a deeper connection with the world around us. And as you reflect on these ideas, I encourage you to take the first step on your own journey of discovery. Subscribe to our channel and like this video to stay connected with more content that challenges the way we think about time, history, and spirituality. Together, we can uncover the truths that have been hidden for far too long. Thank you for joining me on this journey. The story of the 1775 Bible is just the beginning. There are countless other mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and I look forward to exploring them with you. Remember, the past holds the key to our future, if only we have the courage to look.